The cruise lines are quietly changing the rules, and most Americans over 60 have no idea how much it's about to cost them or how much of it they can actually get back. Because starting in 2026, a wave of new fees, new ID requirements, and new policies is changing the way you cruise, for better and for worse. The catch? The cruise lines aren't exactly rushing to tell you what changed. Behind every one of these updates is a profit motive. The less you know, the easier it is for them to charge you more than you planned, or take away something you already earned. But if you know what changed and what to do about it, these same new rules can save you real money, protect your loyalty status, and keep you from getting turned away before you ever reach the ship. So today I'm walking you through what actually changed for cruisers over 60 in 2026, the fine print the cruise lines are counting on you to skip, and the exact move to make for each one. By the end of this video, you'll know the 10 cruise rules every American over 60 needs before booking in 2026, and how to make each one work for you instead of against you. Let's begin. Rule number 1. The airport ID rule that stops your trip before it starts. Let's start at the very first hurdle, and it's one that has nothing to do with the ship. It's the airport. If you're flying to reach your cruise port, and most people sailing out of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, or Galveston are flying to get there, the ID rules at security changed on May 7, 2025. That was the day the Transportation Security Administration started enforcing Real ID. Here's what it means for you. The regular driver's license you've carried for decades may no longer get you through airport security. Your license now needs a small gold star or a flag printed in the top corner. No star, and TSA can turn you away at the checkpoint. A passport works instead. So does a passport card or a global entry card. Why does this hit older travelers harder than anyone? Because if you don't fly often, you've had no reason to renew your license, and the one in your wallet might be the old kind airport security no longer takes. The frequent business flyer already sorted this out years ago. A retiree taking one big cruise a year is exactly the person who finds out at the checkpoint. So do this months before you travel, not the week of. Pull out your license right now and look at the top corner. If there's no star and no flag, you have two options. Renew it at the DMV and ask specifically for the Real ID version, or just use your passport to fly. There's also a fallback starting February 1st, 2026. If you reach the checkpoint without the right ID, you can pay a $45 fee to go through an identity check instead. But it's not guaranteed, and it adds half an hour of stress on the worst possible morning. Don't rely on it. The move here is simple. Check for the star today. And if that caught you off guard, wait until you see what they did with the gratuities. Rule number 2. The gratuity increase you can legally lock out. If it feels like cruising keeps getting more expensive after you've already booked, you're right, and here's the proof. In 2026, 4 major cruise lines raised their daily gratuities, and they did it without much fanfare, through emails and website updates instead of any announcement. Here are the real numbers. On Carnival, daily gratuities went from $16 a day to $17 per person, and to $19 in a suite, effective April 2nd, 2026. Princess went to $18 a day on March 8th and raised its service charge on drinks and dining from 18 to 20%. Holland America moved to $18 a day on June 1st, and MSC went to $17 a day on May 11th. These apply to every person in your cabin, every single day, before you've bought one drink. For a couple on a 7-night cruise, that's over $200 in gratuities alone. Now here's the part the cruise line won't highlight for you. Most of these lines let you prepay your gratuities when you book, and prepaying locks in the old, lower rate for the entire cruise, even if your sailing is after the increase date. That's real money they're hoping you'll leave on the table. So the moment you book, prepay your gratuities. When you're on the phone or on the booking page, just say, "I'd like to prepay my gratuities at the current rate." That one step can hold the old price for your whole trip. If you take one thing from this video, make it this one. That was just the money they add on. The next one is about something they take away from the people who earned it most. Rule number 3. The loyalty status you'll lose if you don't claim it. This one stings, and it stings the exact people who've been most loyal. For years, Carnival's loyalty program, the VIE Club, worked in a way that was simple and fair. The more you cruised, the higher your status. It rewarded people who came back again and again, which skews older. Retirees who sail 2 or 3 times a year built real status over decades. On September 1st, 2026, Carnival is replacing that with a new program called Carnival Rewards, and the whole system flips. Instead of earning status by how many nights you've sailed, you now earn it by how much you spend. Your fare, your onboard purchases, your Carnival credit card. The more money you hand over, the higher your tier, which means a first-timer who books one expensive suite can now outrank a loyal cruiser who sailed 20 times on modest cabins. Loyalty used to mean showing up. Now it means spending. I'm not going to dress that up. For the budget-conscious older cruiser, it's a downgrade. But here's the part that's an actual trap, so pay attention. You have to opt in. Carnival says privacy rules stop them from moving everyone over automatically, so if you don't go in and click Enroll and Accept, your existing status and all your accumulated days do not transfer. Read that again. If you've built up status with Carnival, you must manually enroll before the switch, or you lose it. So before September 1st, 2026, log into your Carnival account and enroll in Carnival Rewards to carry your status over. And if you're anywhere close to the top tier, there's a reason to hurry. Reach Diamond status by August 31st, 2026, and Carnival locks you in with Lifetime Diamond. Miss that date and you're playing by the new spending rules like everyone else. If you're a Carnival loyalist, this is your window, and it closes. Rule number 4. The Alaska Glacier your cruise is quietly skipping. If you booked an Alaska cruise for 2026, there's a change to your itinerary a lot of people won't find out about until they're standing on the deck. One of the most beautiful stops in Alaska, Tracy Arm Fjord and its Sawyer Glacier, has been canceled fleet-wide for the entire 2026 season. This one isn't the cruise line cutting corners, and once you hear what happened, you'll be glad they pulled it. On the evening of August 9th, 2025, passengers on a small expedition ship finished photographing the South Sawyer Glacier and headed back down the fjord. 12 hours later, a mountainside collapsed into the water right where they'd been, 64 million cubic meters of rock. It threw up a wave that reached 1,500 feet high on the opposite wall, higher than the Empire State Building. It was the second largest tsunami ever recorded on Earth, and it happened in a spot where cruise ships drop passengers every single summer day. The only reason it isn't one of the worst disasters in cruise history is timing. The ship had already left. The U.S. Geological Survey warned that more rockfall is likely, and no cruise line is going to sail into that again. So Carnival, Holland America, Royal Caribbean, and others all pulled Tracy Arm from their 2026 routes. Here's the reassuring part, so nobody thinks their trip is ruined. The ships are substituting a different stop, Endicott Arm and its Dawes Glacier, and it's genuinely comparable. You still get the towering glacier and the ice calving into the water. It's a swap, not a loss. But you deserve to know before you sail. So before you book any 2026 Alaska cruise, ask your travel agent or the cruise line straight out. Does this itinerary visit Tracy Arm or Endicott Arm? Get the real answer in writing so the glacier you were promised is the glacier you get. Rule number 5. The drink package rule that now costs your whole cabin. This one is easy to trip over if you're not expecting it. As of August 1st, 2025, Royal Caribbean tightened its rule on the deluxe beverage package, the all-you-can-drink one. The rule now is strict. If one adult in your stateroom buys the drink package, every adult 21 and over in that cabin has to buy it too. And they ended the exceptions. It used to be that if one person didn't drink, they could skip it while their partner bought it. Not anymore. Royal Caribbean says it can no longer grant those exceptions. So if you and your spouse share a cabin and only one of you drinks, you can't buy a single package. You either both buy it or neither does, and you pay per drink. For a couple where one person doesn't drink, that changes the math completely. So before you book that package, add up what the drinking partner actually spends on a typical cruise and compare it to 2 full packages. More often than you'd think, paying per drink wins. Run the numbers before you buy, not after. By the way, if this is already saving you money or headaches, take a second and subscribe. This channel exists to keep travelers over 55 from getting charged for things they could have avoided, and there's more of it coming. Rule number 6. The accessibility rights the cruise line won't offer unless you ask. Here's one that works in your favor, if you know to bring it up. Cruise lines and airlines both operate under U.S. Department of Transportation accessibility rules, and those rules give older travelers with any mobility limitation more than most people ever claim. The catch is the same as everything else on this list. They usually won't offer it. You have to ask. If you have limited mobility, circulation issues, or use a cane, walker, or wheelchair, you can request accommodations that others pay extra for or never get. Priority boarding onto the ship. Assistance getting through the terminal and to your cabin. Accessible stateroom features. The cruise line has a process for all of it, and it's built into your booking. So when you book, tell them clearly, "I'd like to add a special service request for mobility assistance to my reservation." That single phrase flags your booking in their system and puts the help in place before you ever arrive at the port. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to ask, calmly and directly, using that phrase. Now, the next few changes affect everyone on the ship, not just older travelers, but you'll still want to know them before you pack. Rule number 7. The glasses that are now banned in parts of the ship. A lot of people got smart glasses as a gift and have no idea there's a rule about them at sea. These are the glasses with a tiny camera in the frame, like the Ray-Ban Meta ones. In 2026, several cruise lines restricted them, mostly for privacy. MSC banned them in most public areas outright. Royal Caribbean restricts using them in the casino, bathrooms, kids' club areas, and medical areas. Carnival allows them in public but not during boarding. So if you wear the smart kind as your everyday glasses, pack a regular backup pair so you're not stuck at the casino door or the gangway. Small thing, but it saves an awkward moment. Rule number 8. The dinner dress code and the small fees that add up. Two quick ones here. First, if you sail Norwegian, the dinner dress code got stricter in early 2026. In the specialty restaurants, the nicer sit-down venues you pay extra for, they now ban shorts and flip-flops at dinner. So if you've booked those restaurants, pack long pants and real shoes for those nights. Not a tuxedo, just not shorts and sandals. Second, the small charges that stack up when you're not looking. On Carnival, the unlimited soda package went from $9.50 a day to $11.99, effective April 2, 2026, about a 26% jump. And the Bahamas restructured its cruise passenger tax to around $30 per person for many itineraries, a government fee that lands on your final invoice, and some lines pass the increase to people who'd already booked. None of these is huge alone, but a soda package here, a port tax there, an extra $1 a day in gratuities, and the cruise ends up costing a few hundred more than the price you thought you were paying. So when you compare cruise prices, add the daily gratuities, the drink packages, and the port taxes onto the fare before you decide. The sticker price is never the real price. Rule number 9. The fuel surcharge that isn't here yet, but is written into your contract. This one is about protecting yourself from something that hasn't happened, but could. Right now, no major cruise line is charging a fuel surcharge, and you should be suspicious of any video telling you otherwise. But here's what is true. The contract you agree to when you book almost always contains a clause that lets the cruise line add a fuel surcharge later, a set amount per person per day, even after you've paid in full. On some lines it runs around $10 a day per person. And one detail worth knowing, Carnival doesn't lock in its fuel prices the way some competitors do, which leaves it the most exposed if fuel spikes. So don't panic because nothing's been charged. But read the fuel clause in your cruise contract so you know it exists, and if you're booked far ahead and fuel prices are climbing, pay your balance sooner rather than later. Knowing the clause is there is the whole point. Most people have no idea they agreed to it. Rule number 10. The one document that can actually save your trip. Here's the last one, and maybe the most important. On a closed-loop cruise, the kind that starts and ends at the same U.S. port, you're technically allowed to sail with just a birth certificate and a photo ID. Plenty of people do it to save the cost of a passport, and most of the time it's fine. But think about what happens if it isn't fine. Say you miss the ship at a port in Mexico or the Caribbean, an excursion runs late, a taxi breaks down, or say you have a medical emergency and have to be taken off the ship in a foreign country. Now you need to fly home, internationally, and a birth certificate will not get you on that plane. Only a passport book will. For a traveler over 60, the odds of a medical situation are simply higher, and that's not fear-mongering, it's just honest. So if you cruise internationally at all, even just to the Bahamas, get the passport book. It costs some money and takes a few weeks, but it's the one document that guarantees you can get home from anywhere, no matter what goes wrong. It's the cheapest insurance you'll ever buy. Now, before you go, there's one more thing I owe you, because a lot of what's floating around online about 2026 cruise rules is flat out wrong, and getting fooled by the fake version costs you just as much as missing the real one. There's a claim going around that Norwegian is now charging for drinks on its private island, so your package won't work there. That one was proposed and then reversed before it ever took effect. Your package still covers the island. Another one says babies in swim diapers were suddenly banned from cruise pools as some new rule. That's not new, and it's not one cruise line. Every line has followed the same public health rule on diapers in pools for years. Then there's a scary $30 Bahamas tax supposedly aimed at cruisers that started in July 2025. That one is actually a tax on private boats and yachts, not cruise ships. And the big one, that a new law requires a passport for all cruises in 2026. Also false. Closed-loop cruises still allow a birth certificate and photo ID, which is exactly why we talked about why you'd want the passport anyway. So here's where that leaves you, and here's the mindset to carry from now on. The cruise lines make money on confusion. They profit when you don't know what changed and don't know what to ask for, especially older travelers who are often too polite to push. But information is leverage. Check your license for the star before you fly. Prepay your gratuities to lock the old rate. If you're a Carnival loyalist, opt in before September and lock your status. Ask for the accessibility help that's already yours. And carry a passport book if you're leaving the country. Do those things, and the cruise lines are working for you instead of quietly taking from you. If this saved you money or a headache, subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel does. We read the fine print for travelers over 55, so the cruise lines can't change the deal on you after you've paid. So tell me in the comments, what's the most ridiculous surprise fee a cruise line has ever hit you with? I'd love to feature it in a future video. Until next time.